Welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast, where we have one mission, and that is to help as many interested people around the world learn and improve at jazz piano by providing structured and organized jazz piano education. I'm your host, as always, Brendan Lowe, and thank you so much for joining me on this amazing podcast event, which is our 100th podcast episode. Okay, enter crowd noise here. So thank you so much for being here. This is going to be a little bit longer intro for all you YouTube watchers. We usually cut down the talking, but I wanted to announce that we are doing a contest in celebration of our 100th podcast episode. So if you're interested in entering the podcast, we're going to be giving away a lifetime membership to Jazz Piano School. That's going to include our 600 video main course, the new lab that we're opening up. That's going to include a lot of upgrade formulas, and the solo piano system. It's going to include all of the different specialty courses that we're going to be releasing in the future, and all the masterclass education we're going to be releasing with New York jazz pianists and well-known jazz pianists as well. So that's going to be our lifetime education membership we're going to be giving away. We're also going to be giving away a lab membership, which we're going to be releasing this year, to someone as well. So just a lab membership and a lifetime membership. Really, really just high value memberships. You can learn so much from that. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go to iTunes and entering. All you need to do is go to iTunes, just leave a 5-star review, and obviously you need to type it in. You can't just click the 5 stars because we won't know who you are. Okay, and then we will announce the winner on the podcast the following week. We're going to gather all the names and, announce the winner. So I don't know how many people are going to enter. I mean, there could be 2, there could be 5, there could be 10, there could be 100, but again, it's a jazz piano podcast. We're not talking about Harry Potter or, Lost here, the TV series. So again, we don't get hundreds of thousands of listeners on this. I mean, it's a pretty small niche. So you have a very good chance to win. So if you go ahead and do that, I mean, on iTunes, you have a very good chance to win that lifetime membership or the lab membership as well. Now, you can get the podcast materials for this podcast at our same URL, always jazzpianoschool.com/podcast100, or you can click on the link below. We've also included the link in the show notes to direct you to iTunes to leave that review to enter in the contest. And again, from the release of this podcast all the way up into the next podcast is going to be the entry time for the reviews to win one of the 2 memberships we're going to be giving away. Okay, so with that being said, let's dive right into this 100th episode. So here we go. This is someone to watch over me. And again, Keith kind of starts out. We're on a first name basis, me and Keith. We're not really. I'm just joking. But Keith Jarrett starts out by playing this E flat chord. So he's playing an E flat. Let me raise the volume here just a little bit. So he doesn't even play a 7th chord. He's playing a major triad with a 9. Listen to the sound. It's beautiful. And a lot of the times, Brad will do this. In some of the more simpler stuff that sounds pretty, it sounds more like classical because there's less 7th chords, actually. And this is what he uses to start the podcast off with. Just a very simple triad, bass note in the left hand, and 3 and 5 and 9 in his right hand. Okay? After he plays that, he moves to the melody in his right hand. On the 3rd note of the melody, he actually hits a whole step together. You'll see this a lot, and it's a really fun thing to do. I need to definitely add this in. I love these whole steps because they add, again, he does it here, obviously, adding the 9 in right next to the 3rd. So he has his E flat dominant 7th chord now. He has the 3rd up here in the melody, and he adds the 9, and he leaves it out of his left hand. He continues with the melody. Now, the nice thing here is he moves his left hand, the 5 and the 7, to some extensions over that E flat 7th chord. Now, he actually drops the 7th. So he has this. He's essentially playing a C major triad over an E flat bass note. So he's still getting the essence of E flat. We don't have the 7th in it anymore. We basically have an E flat 6. You could call it an E flat 6 chord because of the C on top. Flat 9 and 3. There's no 5 though. Or you could really think about this as just C major over E flat. And this E flat always wants to resolve down to A flat, so it works either way. Plays the melody note and then finally lands on his A flat chord. right? A flat major 7 chord we have here. So notice that he doesn't get a low end bass note in here. He's actually playing a triad in his left hand, which is really cool. He has the major 7 here, 1, 3, 5, major 7, right? So he's in, again, no bass note down here or anything. Melodies up here. He has a little, you're going to see so much left hand motion everywhere, motion and movement. So he goes like this. So he basically is just pivoting on that 5. The right hand moves up at the same time, right? So he kind of doubles that note. And then he continues with the melody down to here. Oops, sorry. Now this right here, okay, is essentially a D sus chord. Now we've included, there's a lot of substitutions or, kind of different ways you can approach someone to watch over me. We've included the original chords. I'm not going to talk about those because you can kind of see what the original chords are on our transcription. I'm just going to talk about what he's doing. So here, he's going to a D sus, right? We have 1, 4, 7. So he's created his D sus, and look at how he's voicing that essentially like this, right? 1 and 4. Now the reason for this is because he's going to use these fingers for movements. He has the 7 here, right? 5 in the melody. Now what he does here is resolve it, which is a very standard thing. He moves off that, goes to a G7, excuse me. Now look how he's creating movement. He has the octave here, the 9 on top, the 3 on the bottom, and he resolves these top 2 notes just like that. Okay? Here's from the A flat chord. Right? See that? So those are some of the movements that he's going to use. And again, from the beginning here, sorry, my laptop's being super loud. It's kind of distracting me. But here we go. I'll focus. Whole step, right? E flat 7, C over E flat. Finally, he goes, and again, he resolves here. Another sus chord, C sus, and then resolves down to more or less a C minor. So he's resolving his C sus chord to a C minor. This makes it more of a C11, C minor 11 here. Moves up to the melody, octave. Now here, left hand has a 9th. You see that? 1 and 9. His right hand has the melody here. He has the major 7 and the 13 here. So the melody note is the 3rd. He doesn't need the 3rd in there at all because the melody is the 3rd here. Right? So he has this. Again, he does this little pivot. So you're going to see that a lot, right? You see chord 5, 1. That's what he did on the A flat chord in the second measure. Chord 5, 1. Right? Chord 5, 1. A very cool thing to do. It adds more motion in. Now what he does is he adds essentially this D here, right? So basically he's adding the sharp 11 on the bottom at the end, like on beat 4. It's a really cool thing because he's kind of doing it later, right? Adding it in later, that sharp 11 there, over the A flat major 7. So he doesn't play he could play it like this, right? Just harmonize the whole chord, but he breaks it up. Okay, this falls into this. Okay, so again, we have more of a G minor here. He's playing 1 and 3. This 5 up here, he adds the 3rd in. Excuse me, the 7 here. He adds the 5 in here, and then moves to this. Okay, and I think he's playing right this with his left hand. His right hand is playing the thumb here. So he's got this. That's a really interesting voicing, right? So we have 7. We got essentially the shells and the bass note. That's what we need, right? He adds the 5 in and then elects to play 1, 4, or the 11 and the 5 again. So again, that's just kind of an improvised little thing there. He moves to the melody here. Another sus chord, right? C sus here. Now look how he's voicing it. 1, 5, 7. He puts the 4 in his left hand. Then what he does is resolve it, okay, into his left hand here with the third and the sharp 9. See that? So you could do it like this, but he essentially starts with the 5 here, puts the 4 down here, just like that, and resolves the sharp 9 to the natural third. A nice little resolution there. Hits the F minor 7, does his little trick again, so he has 1 and 3. This time he's pivoting to the 5, but goes back to the 3. Essentially the same concept. So you see him doing this all over the place, right? On beat 1, he's going 1 and 2. 1 and 2. He did it on the A flat major chord. 1 and 2. Where was the other spot? 1 and 2, right? He hit that 9th, 5, 1. Doing that all over the place. 1 and 2. Right? So then he's just continuing up the melody here. This is a very pretty chord. Check this out. 1, 5, 9, 3, 5, 1. Now essentially, this is like an A flat major triad, but because of the 9th on the bottom and the 5, again, this whole step rub is really pretty. Creates just such a beautiful voicing. It also keeps this B flat on top in his left hand, right? Again, he has the 9th on the bottom. He loves those 9ths on the bottom. That's a very big takeaway. B flat sus chord here, right? 4, 7, 4. B flat in the bass. And then he has a little movement here. So he resolves to an E flat, right? Major 7, 5, 7, 1, 3. Does his 1 and 2. He does it almost like all over the place, right? 1 and 2. Here he goes 1, 5, 3. Right? Before he did this, the 10th, 5, 3. This time he broke it up in all single notes. 1, 5, 3. So before he was playing 2 notes on beat 1, right? 1, 5, 3. Now he just did 1 single notes. 1, so this, 1, 5, right? Right? Going to this B flat sus. Now let's check this out, right? His left hand has this. So basically he breaks up his left hand chords a lot to create motion, right? To create motion in his hand and voicing movement, he's just, instead of just playing one chord, he could just play this. That would be pretty, but he breaks it up. Now the bass note is held the entire time, so he gets that rich low end sound of the bass note underlying the palette to his harmonies, right? Sorry. Let me see. And again, he hits a final voicing here. 1, 4, 7, 9, 5. Resolves. Right? This 6, so the 13 resolves down to the 5 really nicely. And then we're back at the top again. Okay, you see that there? So let me play that through. Probably, obviously not like Keith Jarrett, but... Whoops, I already made a mistake. So a couple mistakes in there, sorry about that. But again, with these movements, there's so many tied notes and held notes. It's difficult because, you know, he's holding some notes so that the sound kind of moves into the next chord. It's much more classically driven than any sort of kind of, I mean, it's brilliant, right? It's brilliant the way he's holding notes down So that sound or that note is actually being used for two different purposes just by holding it, even though he's not replaying the note. It's a really, really cool concept. So here we are at the second A, okay? Again, just outlines his E flat 1, 5, right? Uses the same, right? 5 and 7 going to the, I guess if you want to call it, again, C major over E flat kind of sort of transition there. This time he goes down to an A natural, so he doesn't hit an A flat chord, right? He's essentially hitting this A natural down here. Goes up to this F here, which is really cool. So essentially he's probably thinking more or less an F over an A, but he doesn't have the third in there, so he just has 1, 5, 1 with the 9, so this, right? Now here, he has more or less a B flat 7 over A flat, okay? But then he adds this in. Love this. I absolutely love this in. So he has this B flat 7 chord over A flat, okay? So again, this is kind of giving an A flat sharp 11 sound. There's no third in here. There's no fifth. So you can kind of analyze it two ways. I would kind of call this more or less a B flat 7 over A flat, right? Because we don't have the 3 or the 5 of the A flat triad. But then he adds the 7 in, right? So at that point, when he adds the 7, it's more or less an A flat 7 chord, and he has the sharp 11. So what he's essentially doing is he's playing an A flat 7, right? He's going from F over A to A flat 7, but he just breaks it up. So he hits the chord in his right hand and then hits the 7. So ultimately, I would call that basically an A flat 7 sharp 11. And he jumps up to here and adds in these extra harmonies up here, which sounds really nice. So he adds in the 9, the 3, the 5. So he adds in the missing tones that we didn't have before, right? There's no 3 and 5 yet. And he adds in the the 7 and then the 3 and 5 plus the 9, right? Just a really, really beautiful thing, right? Now here, okay, G on the bottom, 5, 7, 9. Again, no third. Going up to the melody. So this is, again, kind of like G minor for the most part, but there's no third, but then he kind of switches it to an E flat over G flat, right? So now it's G flat, E flat over G. Again, this is really cool here. He goes more to an A minor 7, right? A minor 7, D7, so he has 1, 3, 1, 3, sharp 11, resolves to the 5. So he actually doubles 1 and 3 in both hands. You don't often see that. Back to G minor, right? So it's kind of a funny thing because he kind of has G minor there. Back to G minor again. Right? So now we really have a G minor. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Again, breaking it up. So he's not playing 1, 7, 3 all at once. He's playing 1 and 3, then adds a 7 in. Right? So then he kind of adds the melody up here. This is a really nice harmony here. Right? So this. Basically, we have an A minor 6 chord with the 11. And then it could be kind of a 7 here if you think about that as a 7. So here's the G minor. Going to that G, it sounds a little kind of funky there. But it's all about the movement. Back to the C sus. Resolution here. Finally to the F minor. Back to the F minor, 1 and 3. Breaking it up again, right? 1 and 3, 5. And then instead of just hitting the 3 again, he adds in the root there. So it's similar to the same thing he always does, but he just adds in the root. And then, again, he loves this 1, 9, 3, 5, 1. So that kind of, ends right there, and then he continues on into the bridge. So, again, the takeaways here, I mean, there's so many things going on. Let me just walk through it again. So, starts with that chord, the really nice E-flat triad with a 9, right? Again, moving from the E-flat 7 to C major over E-flat, right? Kind of the A-flat major 7 with the triad in his left hand, 7 in his right hand. And again, he adds in the movements in. Again, resolving his D sus. G7 flat 9, right? There's our flat 9 on top. Resolving to that G7 there. Starts with an octave, which is really nice, so you can have movement in both hands. Again, sus chord, resolving to the minor. So C sus to C minor. You don't always have to resolve your C sus to C7, right? You can resolve to the minor. That's a cool thing to do. I actually don't do that often. Okay, going to his A flat major 7 sharp 11, right? Because he adds the 11 in later. But again, here 1 and 9 adds the sharpen later after he hits with the root, right? Again, G minor, melody, sus, C7, sus in the left hand, sharp 9, resolution, right? And again here, ninth, okay? Some movement. Again, movement in his left hand, 1 and 2. Again, this is a B flat sus, right? Resolving down to the 3rd. And then finally, it's cool how he chooses to keep that the top leading note there. I like that a lot from the resolution before. Here's our F over A, right? Here's our A flat 7, okay, but he doesn't have the 7 in there yet. He adds all the shells in afterwards, okay? Well, he has the 7 in his left hand, I guess. He just doesn't have it down low, right? But he doesn't have the 3rd or the 5, right? So kind of, he breaks it up here, right? This is essentially what he's meaning to do, right? He's using a 1-7-3 voicing, right? 1-7-10 essentially voicing, but he adds the 9 in, which is really nice, and he breaks it up. And then adds the 5 here, and the 7 again, doubles the 7. All right, so again here, kind of G minor, E flat over G he switches to. A, okay, your A7 going to D7 sharp 11, resolution, G minor again. Here's your A6, right? A minor 6. So here's your 3, 11. I mean, you can think about this more or less as D7 over A too. Kind of the same thing because he does add in this G here, which kind of gives it an A minor 7 feel. I mean, that's kind of a strange area there. Here's your C sus, resolution, F minor. There's this patent, 1 and 2 kind of thing he loves to do in his left hand on beat 1. 1 and 2. Sorry. And then here's your F minor, B flat sus, resolution, and then E flat triad with a 9. So extremely, extremely beautiful, someone to watch over me. I mean, again, with all the ties and movements of the voicings, it's just goes to show like the incredible brilliance and genius and just, knowledge of inner voicing movements. Again, the takeaways here are going to be that you don't have to get the entire chord in on beat 1. Keith is definitely doing that, breaking up lots of things, right? So he'll play maybe the 3, 1, 7, right? Or he's doing the ninths. He's using like a lot of ninths, right? A a lot of ninths, adding in the shells, adding in the extensions later. So everything can be broken up and kind of, divvied amongst the measure with the melody. I mean, is that easy? No, but, you can kind of think about that, and it can propel you into different types of journeys. Lots of sus resolutions, right? Not just to the minor. I mean, not just to the dominant, to the minor, right? He has those resolutions. Triads over bass notes, right? He had the C over B flat. He had the F over the A. Okay, lots of triads. Don't just think 7 chords. You can still think triads over certain bass notes or just playing the triads. And again, lots of ninths in his left hand. Lots of ninths, lots of tenths, right? Lots of 1, 7, 3, and lots of 1, 7, 3, and 9. Okay, 1, 7, 3. He'll roll those, right? And again, he'll break up his left hand, use his left hand with different movements as his right hand is shifting as well. So a lot of amazing takeaways in this really slow ballad of Someone to Watch Over Me from Keith Jarrett. So again, go to iTunes, review the podcast. Leave obviously a written review so we know your name. That's the only way you'll get entered. If you just click 5 stars, you won't be entered because we won't know your name. So write your name in, leave a review, 5-star review, and we'll enter you into win one of the 2 memberships that we're going to be giving away. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I'll see you in podcast 101. We are in the triple digits, but we're not stopping. We're still going, okay? Because we're dedicated, and Jazz Piano School is it's never going to end. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we are here to serve jazz piano education, as long as we can, and we love doing it. So thank you for all your support and helping us reach podcast 100, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy practicing.